Episode number 118 with Steve and Mike. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
This is Mike Snyderman.
And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your tweets. Thank you for your reviews. Thank you for being here each and every week. We would not be here if it was not for you. So thank you. How the hell are you, Mikey? You have been under one hell of a run.
Steve, the next time you save a cat out of a tree,
yeah,
the cat might have a friend up there because the cats are kissing the dogs these days. There's some strange things going on here. Oh, yeah, I'm winning money at poker. I didn't think that was possible.
Awesome. Congrats, man. That is so cool. It was, it's been fun watching you twitch. It's been really cool. Really cool. So, just to recap here, Mike got second out of over 900 players in a 100K. He got about 17K there, and he just got a first place last week for almost 10K. So I was talking with Mark and KB last night, and they're coming on next week, the two of them. And we couldn't be happy for you, man. It's cool to see. You know, I'm in a downswing right now, but nothing compared to what you went through, and it's good to see that it's turning around. So very cool.
And believe it or not, here, Steve, I can add to the this week. I've played some cash, like 25 hours of cash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm up $10,000 in cash this week.
Yes, I love
playing low limits. I mean, it's about as much money as you can win in a week, probably, or you know.
What do you play? 2-3 or?
Well, 5-5 mostly. Some 2-3.
Okay. Right.
So yeah, just one of those things. Every time I go in there, I'm Yesterday or 2 days ago was a pretty special one. I go in there and there's one guy he's a Pai-Gow player who occasionally stumbles over and plays some poker.
Oh, perfect.
And he just announces, he's like, if I ever have an 8, I go all in. So sure enough, he goes all in under the gun for 1,400. I had bought in for like 800 or 900. I'm kind of buying in short, but then I won a couple hands. So when he arrives, he goes all in under the gun, and we were like $1,200 effective, and I had aces in the small blind and called, obviously, and held. And he just showed an 8 and then folded. So
Oh, that is great.
So I don't know if he had two of them or not, but he.
What? He's Asian?
Yeah, of course, Steve.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't want to be completely racist here, but
no. He was. He lost like $4,000 in 30 minutes, and just at 5-5, I think they give you the free food here, so he ate and went back to Pai-Gow.
Yeah, right on. Cool. Yeah, when I was in Macau, it was I'll never forget. It was some nutted hands like kings or queens or aces or something, and the guy was really debating whether to call my all in, and he was kind of hemming and hawing and going back and forth, and then finally he folded, and the guy next to him asked him. He said, "Did you have spades?" And he said, "No, but they were suited." And he's like, "Good fold. If it was spades, you'd have to call." And I was like, there wasn't even a board yet. This was all pre-flop. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, apparently over there they believe that spades are very lucky. So all the billboards and everything that have cards up on them, it's always spades. So wow. Spades are lucky, but he folded. Whatever they were suited, but they weren't spades. Otherwise he would have called.
This was inevitable, Steve, but for the first time the podcast got me in some trouble the other day.
Really?
A little bit. There's a guy there who's just sitting there and he's like, "Oh, here's the podcaster. Why don't you just talk about how me and everyone else here sucks?"
Really? You're starting to get a crowd. I love it.
Which, first of all, I don't think I really talk about that. Usually, if there's someone doing something stupid in a hand, it's usually me. But anyways, this is a guy who's I don't know if I maybe did call him stupid. I probably have discussed a hand with him though, but he's like ridiculously like in a 5-5 game he'll raise 100 under the gun without looking at his hand, kind of stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
Basically you're playing away poker where it's impossible to break even. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So if he hears this, it's nothing personal. It's just So when this guy shoved, this guy's like turning to me. He's like, "Oh, I bet you're happy he's playing like that." I'm like, yeah. It doesn't suck, you know.
Yes.
So
it
it's
is nice.
obviously, and this other guy is like, you know, squeezing every hand, you know. So between the two of them there, it's pretty, you know, you're playing premium hands only. You're bluffing. It's silly.
Yeah. They're going to call you down to a third pair or something. Yeah.
But this guy was upset that I was playing rationally. So.
Yeah. You know, some of the guys at work, there's not a single person in my job, and there's over 100 of us that like poker other than me. And some of the guys at work actually listen to the podcast. It floored me. That was kind of odd. I thought it was, but it kind of flattering at the same time.
I don't really. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't really share the fact that I have the podcast. You know, so.
Yeah, I don't. When people ask me about it, I tell them, of course, but it kind of blew me away that guys that know nothing about cards and don't like cards have listened to the show. So apparently we can have our own entertainment, I guess, other than poker. But speaking of which, we got another review. This one's from I believe his name is Phil, if I remember right. He's always on your Twitch stream, Texas Fugitive.
Okay.
Says 5-star review. Thank you, Phil. Real, honest, frank poker talk. Entertaining. Mike is hilarious. Worth it just to hear him talk. So if your head wasn't big enough already, hopefully that ballooned it up a bit.
What is it? There's a lot of stuff to talk about here. Now that I think about it, Steve, I'm on for the first time ever here. My star is breaking out. I get to be on another podcast this week.
Oh shit! Where are you going?
The Just Hands podcast.
You know, I've heard of that one. Andrew Brokus was saying they're doing a some kind of live event or something with these guys, but I've never listened to their podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm going through their guests. It's like a star-studded list: Negreanu, Selbst, Raymer, Brokus.
Nice.
I'm assuming it's like some sort of ambush interview. It's like, Mike, today we want to know about the people who aren't good at poker but keep playing. We're trying to get some insight into the ideas, quote unquote, that are flying around in your head or something. I'm kind of expecting that kind of thing. But yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh, that's awesome! I'll have to.
I listened to a couple episodes, and these guys are smart for sure.
Okay.
They're cash game grinders, and you would like this podcast a lot.
Okay, after we're done here, I'm going to download some episodes. That's cool. When are you coming on? Do you know?
We're recording next week, so I'm guessing the week after, but it might be a little later than that. I'm not sure.
Cool.
And the other thing was interesting, Steve. Quickly, before I forget, little details here. I've decided to take proactive view. I mean, it's finally like I'm acting like a real pro. In my card room, the last week I've been campaigning to get a new game in there, and I finally got it last night on a Friday night.
Right on.
I think you've heard me talk a million times how tough the 5-5 game is there.
You want to get badminton in there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I figured
that would be nice.
Yeah.
Naked, oiled badminton, of course, with women involved.
Women are only allowed to play, and men have to bet on it, and that's where you get
the action.
Right,
pretty much.
Okay.
Steve, this is a serious poker podcast. If I want sophomoric humor, Steve, I got many places to go.
But this is not
for top of the line poker content. This is my only outlet. Anyways, there's a big gap at our casino. There's a 2-3 game with a $400 buy-in max, and then there's a 5-5 game with a $1,500 buy-in max.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no like red chip game in between. And if this casino's smart and they're following me, they actually, not just for people like me who are like good at poker and can make money. It's they need a game in between. So last night they ran the 2-5, $300 to $800 buy-in.
Nice.
So this will, obviously for me, this is perfect. A couple of the one, so there's some weaker players who move upwards, and a lot of the top pros will probably stay out of this game,
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, and of course this is going to be kind of contentious because there's another guy who's a prop there, and he loved the idea. He's like, man, I don't want to take the shit for being the one who goes this. And I'm like, I'll take total credit for this. I don't care if these people dislike me. I really don't. It's become kind of – but, the 5-5 game could kind of wither a bit. So really, I was talking to the casino floor guy, and he talked to his boss. I mean, this game isn't going to be brought right in, but it's, Friday nights. And I'm like, first of all, the problem is with the 1,500, some of these amateurs don't realize just, 300 big blinds, like Alex talked, that's just too deep.
Yeah.
Against the pros. They have no chance. And some of these guys, from the casino's perspective, like there's one guy who came in, we haven't seen him in 4 months. He came in, he probably lost like $30,000 in 1 month.
Wow.
I don't know what kind of money he has but you sensed he was, he came in, he won a couple times, and then you could feel the stress coming. And by the end, it's, you could almost set your watch for the last time we'd see him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you drop the buy into 800 where he's not all of a sudden down 3,000 within, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
You're going to get this guy to play twice as much at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be more action.
Yeah.
You get more tables over the time. So, I mean, I don't know if it'll make a difference for the casino. That's obviously
more rake for the casino over time as well. That's how you can sell it to them.
If they get, like I said, I don't know if it's bringing more players in, but I think they'll play more hours. And I think, like a lot of times this 5-5 game, it's just, first of all, it's just like the people, 2-3 of the people have already voiced this. They'd like to play that game, especially because you get the free food.
Yeah.
But you walk by at, 10 o'clock and it's often 6 or 7 handed, and there's two guys with like 4,000 or 5,000 in front of them. So it's like, you're really going to plop $500 in there,
Yeah.
It's kind of terrifying.
Yeah.
And, of course, the top pros are just ridiculously good. So hopefully, I told the Storm, I said, you know what? These guys will find a way to make it happen here. If this 5-5 game starts to die, they'll hustle and get that 5-10 game going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what these guys should. This is the only casino in the world where they would be playing 5-5 because of the $1,500 buy-in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like most places, a 5 game is 500 or 1,000. Maybe I'm sure there's anomalies. I don't know. You know this better than I do. But
that's the only 5-5 game that I've ever heard of that has 300 big blinds.
Yeah, and it's just it's definitely a honeypot for the top pros there, and some of them I can guarantee you. I know this one guy. I could calculate. He probably made $300,000 last year playing that game.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, he'll make $250,000 at the other game, and the other, it's hard to just, but so we'll see if it takes off. If they're smart, they'll push it more because it really will. It would be good for the casino because this 5-5 game is just it's dying anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got so a lot of these guys are buying, and if they give. That's the issue. He said, well, there won't be the free food at 2-5 because a lot of these guys, these lawyers and these sort of guys, they come, the weekend warriors are coming 1 or 2 nights. They come in also because they're treated like, they like the VIP treatment or the idea that they're getting something for nothing. Of course they're not because they're paying $17 an hour in rake.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
and they're costing themselves $60 an hour to sit at the table.
Yeah. If 2-5, if they actually gave them the food there too, then the 5-5 game is just done.
Yeah.
Pretty much, other than Friday nights kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that's cool. When are they running it? Just on Friday, Saturday nights, or?
We just ran it last night, and but immediately, it's kind of funny. There was a couple other pros there where, I was telling them, dudes, if I get this going, and we were in the 5-5 game was ridiculously good last night, so it was kind of pain, but they understood the whole thing. It's like, well, we got to show some interest, get this thing going. Because they understood the whole thing too. We were talking about it. It's like if this brings 2-3 players up,
yeah,
this is good for us.
Oh yeah,
it's better seeing at a table with 6 amateurs with 6 to 800 than with 5 pros and 2 amateurs with 1,500 kind of thing. You know what I mean? So they can kind of do it, and at the very least they were unthreatened by it, and they were kind of thinking about some of these slower days. Monday morning you come in. Sometimes it's first of all even hard to get that 5-5 game going. They got 4-2-3 games going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get a 2-5 game going.
Yeah.
That game has a better chance to run through the night for some of these morning guys. So a couple the morning pros, I guess I think of the morning pros and the night pros. There's always a mix. But there's a group of guys.
What time do they come in at? 6 or something, or
in the morning?
Yeah.
No. They, if there's not a game during the night, then the game in the morning starts anywhere between, 10 to 11:30 a.m. probably or something.
Okay.
And they'll stay like late nights, sometimes in the middle of the morning on Fridays or a day where it's really good. But they come in, and then there's the guys that only come in at night. They come in at anywhere but 6 to 9 a night and play. So if there's like 12 pros there's like 6 day pros and 6 night pros. So the day pros see the benefit of this. The night pros do not. And one of the guys who's one of the best players came over to 2.5 to play, and I could say. He's like, Mike, what's going on over here? Because, like I said, I took credit for it. Don't blame it on the casino. You want someone to fucking blame? Go ahead. And you can mock me. Oh, you don't like playing, 5-5 with me, with this or with this guy. And he's like, what's going on over here? I'm like, well, man, I just said we need a new game here. Mix things up. He's like, smart. I see what you're saying. You don't want to play against, named a few players. Yeah. I'm like, that's right.
Yeah, and please stop saying that in front of the amateurs.
Well, we were kind of in the corner there, so
okay.
But he was. He's like, there's not really enough players in here for multiple games for both these games, and I'm like, you might be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why do I give a shit?
Yeah, you do need it. That's a hell of a transition though from 2-3 to 5-5 because like at the local card room here, they've got 1-2, 2-3. And then they've got 3-5, and then occasionally they run up 5-10. So they have that 3-5 in between, to kind of jump from the 2-3 to the 5-10. But
there'll be a lot of, there's going to be definitely some EV calculations where I might come in and let's just say there's a seat available at 2 tables, and the 2-5 has kind of 1 or 2 competent nits, and then a bunch of weaker players who are I could kind of slowly grind down.
Yeah.
And the 5-5's got like 2 elite pros, but like a couple like lunatic, amateurs who are deep.
Yeah.
So the 5-5 game is probably still more profitable for me there. And of course, like I said, I've just won 6 straight days for 10K. But I'm not rolled for 5-5. Yeah. So actually, I have an interesting hand to talk about last night, which kind of relate there. I don't know if we can. Put that
hang on. Let's tease it real quick. Let me tell you about Elliot Roe. Guys want to get in the right mindset before you play. So listen to an MP3 of the type of game that you're about to play. So, like the hand we're about to talk about, Live Cash. If I were in that game, I'd be out in my car listening to an MP3 about Live Cash before I went in. And then when you do, you're ready to play. You're not thinking about anything else, and you are completely and 100% focused. So try it out for free. You get a 7-minute Tilt-Buster. It is a Tilt-Buster that allows you to just focus, and you can try it out for free. Click on the link in the show notes, or go to headsuppoker.poker and click through the links there, and you get your free 7-minute Tilt-Buster. Put it right to your phone and listen to it before you play. Elliot Roe, the Mindset Advantage. Okay, what do you got, Mikey?
Well, first of all, it was fun last night. I was playing with Alex.
Oh, cool.
And he was drunk, and
right.
he had run it up to like over 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is like nobody should be sitting down at Alex buying in for 600 when he's got 5,000 in front of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This would be a good exhibit A for why there should be a 2-5. But anyways, we were having a good time. But it's one of those. He was raising a lot. So there's a couple. I'm on the button, and he's directly to my right in the cutoff in this hand.
Okay.
And 2 people limp, and Alex raises to $35.
Okay. You said 5-5, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And I have ace-6 of clubs on the button.
Okay.
Like I said, this is not really a detailed hand. I don't know if you need to take the pen and paper out here, but it was just kind of amusing more than anything else. And I've been just, the Alex's thing, protect, wait for your, and I've been following his thing. I was just bitching. I literally had won. I was into this game for 2,100 and down to like 11, 1,200 and been, I didn't want a hand in like 3 hours since moving to this table. Mm-hmm. But I haven't played any hands, and I decided this is an obvious 3-bet spot here. Okay. With a guy who's playing a lot of hands in position.
Yeah.
So I pop it to $90.
Okay.
And this is like, this would be an obvious 3-bet spot, right?
I think so. I would be a little bit more inclined to do it with something like the wheel aces, but if, like you're saying, he's being so active and everything, then you're going to have position for the rest of the hand. Yeah, pop it.
And Alex is like, he's like, you do realize what are you doing here, man? You do realize you're underrolled for this game, right? And immediately pops it to 330. Just throws 3 white chips out there like it's nothing.
Okay, so the limpers both fold, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then what's he do? He pops it to 3 what?
He immediately throws 3 white chips out there, so it makes it 330.
Okay.
And then he's just having fun. He's like, do you realize I have more money on the table than Rampage has in his entire, isn't more than he has in his entire savings?
He's just being a dick. Okay.
And we're having kind of fun about it, but I'm thinking about it. And this is truly, we're talking about like reasons not to play the 5-5, regardless of this is a pretty obvious shove spot that's profitable. Like he's 4-betting pretty wide here. I mean, with all his chips, he's making a statement. He's having fun, blah, blah, blah. And if I had, 1,800, 2,000, then it's kind of difficult. Then, first of all, the option is that I can flat, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, I can flat here and shove over any flop bet, you know what I mean, too, I suppose. But, $1,100 I think I had. Still fold equity. And he's talking the whole time, and I'm stopping and thinking, I'm like, there's just, he might actually have a hand this time. And he's like, geez, man, if you shove here, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I took a while there, and I folded, and he flipped over Jack 8 suited. So okay. Yeah, he was just letting me know, don't 3-bet me.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I mean, obviously, and that was around the time they got the 2-5 game going, like 10 minutes later. So I got to get the hell out of there to listen to him stop yapping.
Yeah. Yeah, that I was thinking the same thing. When he made it 330, I'm like, ooh, okay, we got 12 behind. This sounds perfect. But in the moment, if I was actually sitting there with $1,200 in front of me, I don't know if I could have pulled the trigger.
$1,200 is a lot of money.
It is,
especially, like I said, I've been on a little heater. Last night I only made 600 or so, but because
that's still a good night, Mike.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, I folded this, and then it was like pretty soon thereafter I got, I made it 25, and the guy popped it to 125 in the small blind, and it was obvious he had like aces. Well, that's pretty much the only hand he has there. And I call with pocket 8s, thinking, well, if I flop my set, if I flop my set, I get every time, and I hit my set and doubled up. So yeah. But that's a spot where in that 5-5 game you either have to take totally 3-bets out of your range, or you need to have a 5-bet bluff range.
Yeah.
If you're playing properly against some of these guys. So at 2-5, I mean, there's a couple of guys. I think we talked about this with Alex. It's like there's always these new pros showing up. It's like, don't they realize this game is dying? But it's North County, San Diego is just so nice, and this casino's, this is a nice place to play. It's like, we got to send these guys to L.A. So to bring it back to the 2-5 game, a lot of these guys that, like I said, with their light 4-bet range and all that kind of stuff, hopefully they'll finally get their ass out of town and play more in L.A. kind of thing. But they might not. They might just, for a top player, even with an $800 buy-in, that's still pretty good. They probably they might still be able to make $100 an hour in that game.
Yeah.
Or, certainly a pretty decent wage.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting coming forward, the enmity that I will probably be facing here if the 5-5 game does start to wither and the 2-5 game grows.
I think that's perfect for you. What were you buying in for 8, or were you buying in for like 6 or something, or what?
Well, I bought in for 8 last night. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That.
So. Yeah, and I'm still, technically, if you want to be, I'm still kind of not rolled for that. But it's like if I go a buy-in early, I'm not like crushed.
Yeah.
Because, well, first of all, I've been buying in for 800 or 900 in the 5-5, I should say. So,
okay.
You know what I mean? Kind of, it's already, which I guess maybe the profitability would be higher in the 5-5 for me when I'm doing the same buy-in anyways.
I don't know. Remember what Alex was saying about like where your profit comes from that last $500? You know how it's a 1,500 buy-in in the 5-5, and
Right.
you're just kind of trading money for the first 1,000, but that last $500 when the amateurs will stack off with aces against a set and the pros won't.
Yeah, to have those extra $500, I can also stack off myself, and I just can't afford that. I don't have that kind of money. You know what I mean? So,
Okay.
so my plan now was pretty much to show up in the casino and play a little 5-5, and if I lose a buy-in, then run over and play 2-3. But of course, all week I haven't had that spot. I've just kind of run it up every time.
And maybe what you can do with this, if this 2-5 takes off, is just go with $1,600, and you have 2 buy-ins, and if you run through that, then you're done. You know.
Well, yeah, like I said, but I'm also very motivated for the online grind too, as you might imagine. So
yeah, I can definitely see that. That is such a cool score.
So we'll see. That was kind of the plan I discussed with Alex. How it's I'm going to the online grind on Sundays every Sunday, and then maybe like one night a week, but otherwise otherwise live or the other way around. Like I kind of want to commit, but the more I play online, my game will be the sharpest. Obviously my volume's the highest, my profitability.
Yeah.
So one way or the other, but so then I was leaning towards, after this little rush, it's like, okay, it's going to be online only, except for Friday nights at the casino. Sort of like the Sunday grind. You're obligated to do it. It's so good. Yeah. And the Friday night at casino is definitely the bonanza night there, because a lot of the casual players come in and there's drinking, and the best players are playing the 10-25 game. They're not in that game. So
yeah, what with Ignition, you won both those tournaments on Ignition. Have you requested a check yet, or do you just have all that money sitting on Ignition? Or
no, you can get it off right away in the age of Bitcoin. So that's
so you're doing the Bitcoin thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
So how many Bitcoins do you have, like, right now? Like 10 or something? Or?
No, I don't have that much. I probably kept like $3,000 or $4,000 on Bitcoin, so whatever that is, little three Bitcoin.
And then when you get it, I still have one Bitcoin. Yeah, I bought it at 420 or 450 or whatever it was. I can't remember. And it was less than 5. And I just checked last night, and it's worth, I think, $1,100 now, something like that. It was 12 like the day before, and they were talking about how something happened with they called it a fork, where like 2 entities, I guess, are kind of taking over Bitcoin, and one of them is
Ethereum.
Yeah. What do you understand that? What is it?
I don't understand what's going on. This the one, like, maybe the top pro at Oceans, though, he's like, dude, just get your all money in Bitcoin. It's ready to explode.
Really?
I don't know if that's true, but I needed, when I got these scores, I needed to take money out to live, obviously. So, it's kind of, there's some people who've made some money in Bitcoin for sure. I don't know if there's a point where you need to get out. There's another guy was talking about Bitcoin, and he's got like, I think I want to say, 80 of them.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, he said he's made like 25K off the Bitcoin. And he was wondering at what point, he was just discussing, at what point do I need to sell, and just lock up that equity, as the poker players would say. Yeah,
I only bought one, and my idea when I bought that one was, I'm going to ride this shit out and see in 10 years, Bitcoin will either have taken over the world, or it will be, just another fad. Like, I'm trying to think of something clever now. I don't know. And it's like, so there's that part of me, but then there's also the other part where, like, well, I've just tripled my money. I could throw this on ACR or Ignition with a click of a mouse. Like, right. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, this guy is kind of funny because I had just got the score, and this, by the way, yeah. After winning the 30K on Sunday, I felt like I had to brag, so I went into the casino and I wanted to, get some dinner and talk about it. And that's the night I made like $3,000 there in like 2 hours.
Nice.
So that's when. But anyways, we were talking about the Bitcoin. He's like, "Man, I'll give you cash right now for that win if you want to send me some Bitcoin." And it's funny. So now this guy's poker player / hustler. So I'll only charge you 5%. And, Bank of America only charges me 1.5%, so it's like, but, Bank of America do have to, if I wanted cash right away, I could have, he was offering a service.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, guys got to make money somehow. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll probably just hang on to it. In 2 years from now, I'll be whining because my Bitcoin is worth $4.50. But
or the other way around, Steve.
That's the thing. Is it's like, did that initial $400 investment, is that going to net me $17,000 a few years from now?
That's the other rationale, of course, too, is that I have the safety deposit box at Bank of America. Like, I have cash which is sitting there, which is not investing. So that would be another, obviously, reason to get the to take it all out and buy Bitcoin. So I may, you could lose money on it. But I could also gain money on it. And if I need cash, then it's pretty, I just turn to him at the casino and, oh, by the way, yeah, you're right, I do need cash. And, zip it to him and pay my $100, but I don't have to worry about driving to Bank of America, whatever. And so that's a thought. But, I still, right now, in my mind, Bank of America is like full tilt poker money. Somebody could take it away at any time. It could become inauthentic somehow,
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, I would never leave more than $2,500 on a poker site, I've said. And, like, to have a lot of Bitcoin to me seems kind of reckless. But there's obviously people smarter than me who are, I think Bitcoin's here to stay. And
I hope so.
I don't know.
There's other digital currency out there, too, though. And that's the part that kind of makes me like, I don't know. I mean, there's like Litecoin, and there's probably over 100 of them. If you just Google
I did not
currency.
realize that.
No, Bitcoin is not the only one. There's lots of them. Now, most of them are only worth fractions of a cent, but that's what Bitcoin was worth at one time too, So, I don't know. I don't feel like I understand it well enough to make a move, and that's kind of like freezing me in my tracks, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, but I'm glad I own one. You never know.
Gives you something to do in the morning, or whenever
That's
you
true.
want to.
It's kind of like checking your stocks or something. You go in there. I lost $43 last night. Oh, in the next 20 minutes, I made 87. It's so volatile. It's so volatile. But,
an interesting thing too about the Twitch. We're jumping all around, but I'm just trying to think of some things we could talk about. Well, first of all, live poker. It was just wonderful timing because, this would be a compression of I don't know if you saw me tweeting out what happened in the main event of the circuit at the bike, the $1,675 tournament.
Oh, was that the bad beat you took with the?
Yeah, two pretty hideous ones. Once I got it in with kings on a Jack 8 3 board, and the guy had Ace 8, kind of flipped out, 100 big blind pot. And he had an ace on the turn. I busted. I rebought. And then for the chip lead, late in the night, I got it all in with aces against kings and jacks. The jacks guy made it. And then, so like I went up there with, my buddy Steve, and on the way back, I was like, I'm done playing poker, man. I'm going to grind a little bit online, but I can never play again. And then I won the tournament the next day. But quickly up at the bike, the guy who came in first in the 100K that I got second in, I found out was watching my Twitch stream, and he came over and said hi.
Mm-hmm. Really?
So that's cool. Interesting. Well, he was watching my Twitch stream while we were playing Heads Up.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, you met the guy that you were playing Heads Up?
Yeah, he's the one who won the tournament, and he was watching my Twitch stream.
Holy shit.
He didn't really – yeah, he pretty much kind of said so. He's like, man, he's like, because at one point, I don't know if there was a key hand where it was three-handed, and I opened the button with ace jack. And this guy shoved from the small blind, and I was like, I just was not feeling it. I wanted to save I was stealing so often with my opens. And I was like kind of explaining, I'm like, this guy's never doing this light. He wants the other guy to go out, And I'm like, I'm ahead of his range. I was kind of embarrassed about it a little bit. And everyone in the chat was like, what? Ace Jack, man, what are you, especially as wide as I've been opening, it really should be a call because it looks like these guys just have to, fight back.
Yeah.
But I folded and you can go get the hand history later. And I saw he had ace queen suited. So it turned out to be, but I remember
that hand. I do, yeah.
So, anyways, and this guy's like, "Man, you made a good." So he's basically saying that he was watching my Twitch stream. So, I'll have to decide if I
wonder if he was watching it in the moment or if he went back afterwards.
No. There's a delay, so he can't actually see my cards. But
well, yeah, you got that 3-minute delay or whatever. But I wonder if it's a big advantage to watch it during because you guys played heads up for like half an hour,
And I was explicitly talking about my limb strategy, this and that, and I didn't really get into it. I got the sense that he was watching it, because I got the retweets from. And another guy at the casino who was watching it for sure, and because he's like, "Oh yeah, my buddy's here," and he's like, this guy was the guy was watching it live. He's not going to go. Why would he even give a shit to go back and watch it again? I don't know if he found out about it. All his buddies he's probably tweeting at him, and we're getting excited, and somebody, there's some cross pollination or whatever.
Dude, I was pimping that episode so hard.
That was fun.
I was throwing out texts and everything. We had almost 50 people at one point. I was like, "Oh, this is great."
That was pretty cool.
That was cool. I was throwing it out on Skype, on Twitter, on Facebook, freaking everywhere. I was even texting my friends. I was like, "Dude, check this out. My buddy's heads up right now for over 20K."
Fun.
That was cool.
Like I said, I don't know how much that really matters because if you're playing somebody else who's competent, kind of sense maybe what their reshove range is. There was like one, I think maybe the one hand you were talking about. And I'm sorry, Stevie. I was playing poker till 3 a.m. and I just set the alarm to get up here 5 minutes before this started. So
it's all good.
I had some homework to get some hands here, and of course I've failed you once again. But I'm very pleased with the idea of a strategy-free podcast, Steve. I've been as an act of subversion here. I'm the fucking.
In 118 episodes, we haven't done it yet. Maybe we could do it this
one. I'm the
Viet
Viet Cong right now, man. Trying to just put an end to this nonsense.
You're the little Asian guy with the Vietnamese rice hat sitting in the jungle right now.
But there was a hand where I did the hand history review with Carlos, and I'm like, I couldn't believe I didn't reshove. Like, I limped 10-9 suited, and he raised, and I had 20 bigs or something, and that's like a standard just shove it in spot. Obviously, fold equity, and
I wrote that hand down actually while in game. Now, keep in mind I was probably 4 beers deep, but I wrote down you had 10-9 of clubs, you were heads up, and you raised on the button. So your first act on the button, you raised, and then. That hand. Well, tell me how you would have. That's the one we're talking about, right?
Can't. It was. I think it was a 10-9 suited. It was a 10-8 suited. I'm not sure. There was some spot where, it's normally a reshove. So but for some reason, I thought the guy was passive, and I was going to basically own him. So for him, if he's watching that a few minutes after, he's like, okay, I can definitely raise more often here because this guy is just waiting. This guy had a big chip advantage when we went heads up. He's looking for a big hand to double up and then play poker.
Yeah.
So that's very exploitable in heads up, obviously. So he was attacking. He probably started attacking my opens more. That would have been what he learned from watching my Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it probably cost me $7,000. Was pretty much the idea, just to
what I wrote down was I wrote that you had 10 of clubs, 9 of clubs, you were heads up, and you raised on the button. And then a few minutes later, you had 10-9 off, and you limped on the button. And I wrote down reverse that. And I think that I would rather, limp on the button, and then if he raises, then you can shove it.
Shove the 10-9 suited.
Yes.
But raise the 10-9 off and
raise the 10-9 off, and then fold to a raise,
Yeah, I like that. That makes sense.
That was the only hand that I wrote down for that. But the reasoning for that is, when you're listening, is that if you raise with the 10-9 of clubs on the button, you're kind of, if he re-raises, or let's just say the opponent calls, now you're kind of playing a bloated pot. With a marginal hand, but you definitely want to see a flop with it, But if you just limp on the button, and then now he raises, then you can pick up those chips that he raised by shoving on him. Now with the 10-9 off, this is a hand that you don't want to see a flop as much with, because you don't have that suited value to it. So if you So if you raise it on the button, and then if he re-raises, you have an easy fold, and if he just calls, then you play your position.
Well, Steve, you're probably better heads up than I am. Like you said, I think we talked about that. That was kind of one of your starts in poker, playing the little heads up, sit and goes. So that's something that.
It's fun.
If I have a good record, and there was one, I ran like God in merge. There was like one stretch I know where I had like,
oh, that was fun. Yeah,
I had like 18 first place with like 2 or 3 seconds. So probably results oriented. I was convinced, but a lot of times, because I reviewed the 30K win with Doug, and he's like, you won this tournament 4-handed. You took the variance out of the heads up, because I was just raising and so aggressive. By the time we finally got to heads up and 3-handed, it was more of the same. And I mean, obviously that's variance, but I had like a 9-1 chip advantage when we were heads up, and then knocked him out the very first hand of heads up play.
Yeah.
So that's how that's a good way to win a heads up, is just to ravage shorthanded, where
to rampage the table.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you give up a lot of equity there. But so the 30K, I mean, heads up is easier when you got all the chips, obviously.
Yeah.
And make the other guy shove it in with 10-9 suited, which most people don't want to do.
Yeah, but that's just a situation, and it's either your tournament or it's not. Those are the cards you got, and that's the spot you have to play. It's kind of weird, because how can I describe it? It's like when I made the transition in my mind that this tournament is just going to go however it's going to go, and I'm either meant to run deep and possibly win this thing, or I'm meant to go out on the second hand, I think your mindset just has to be that I'm going to make the best possible decision I can make right here, right now. And that's all you can really do. If you try to force a situation and try to force a 3-bet just because you haven't played a hand in 10 hands, then that's when you kind of get yourself in trouble, But if you can just take the cards that you're dealt, and, sometimes it's like Carlos was talking about, sometimes you just have to fold down to 6 big blinds because you're never dealt anything better than 8 high, and
right.
That's just the way it is.
We're not talking heads up play here, obviously.
No. I'm just talking about for the life of the tournament. And, and then other times, you run like God, and you just run deep, and, you get aces and the other guy gets kings, and you get it all in and you win, and then it just keeps going like that, and it's either your tournament or it's not.
We had a prime example of to give the profitability of the Carlos view, Steve. Again, I'm not blaming this on you, but one Twitch stream you were jumping in there, and I was contemplating folding ace queen. And you're like, "Are you joking?" Do you know what hand I'm talking about? We were 14-handed in like a 5K or something. And,
yes, I do remember that.
I mean, there are 14 players left.
Yeah.
We were kind of shorthanded, and I was 4th in chips with like 25 big blinds. This is ignition. And the guy who was like 5th in chips with 24 big blinds just opened chips, the hijack.
I do remember that.
And I had ace queen off on the button. And I'm like, this is a fold. And then,
yep.
Like, you joking? And I'm like, well, this was right after one of my big wins. So I was pretty much just gambling. I'm okay, let's gamble. He's got,
Yep, I do remember that.
And afterwards you're like, no, he's got 9-7 suited. I'm like, Steve. No.
Why is he shoving 24 bigs with 9-7?
You're like, well, we don't have a lot of hands on him. I'm like, well, precisely. The average player, when they do that, we don't have specific. We can just go by the average player has pocket almost exactly like pocket 7s through 9s and ace king. Like you can almost narrow him. You can almost narrow him to 4 hands there, or sometimes 7 through jacks. Because like off that stack, the average player ignition middle position is worried that they're pocket 2s and 5s that just doesn't look that good to them. Yep. They're nervous about it. You know what I mean? Same thing with like maybe ace. No, I think the guy's shoving probably ace jack suited there in a few hands. We're dominant perhaps, but anyways, it was Carlos doesn't even think about it. It's an easy fold. It's like the guy's got a pair and ace king.
Yeah.
And you can like talk about the chips that are in the pot and say, well, we only need 40, but for ICM reasons, I gave up that was just lighting $400 on fire there pretty much.
Yeah.
My stack was probably worth $600 or $700 and I cashed for $100.
Yeah.
Where, Carlos would have totally been just fourth place is good. That means, because I think this was a long ass grind where I ended up losing $200. I'm like, if I just played that properly, I win 400 or 500 and makes my day worthwhile, So
yeah, I do remember that. He had Ace King, I think, if I remember right, didn't he?
Yep. Ace Queen versus Ace King, just like I said he did.
Yep, and at that point I felt like a complete dumbass. I remember that. Yes.
No, Steve, I'm a free man. No, but you're just talking about my
you're right.
My mentality of going for it, but you can go for it without getting all your chips in there. I mean, that's the beauty of it. You can keep raising, steal the blinds and 3-betting light, and turn your 25 bigs hopefully into 40 bigs without saying all in.
Yeah.
But no, if I get late in tournaments, I think I'm going for it more than a lot of people. But again, the ignition sites is different than ACR for sure.
Yeah, I'm really liking the ignition. It's I've been playing on that more than I have on ACR lately, and
hopefully it's kind of. I was actually thinking about I'm like, I don't want people. I don't know if I'd want a Twitch stream where there's several thousand people watched.
Yeah, that's such a trip that the guy that you were
not that I'm like a super great player, but I think I got ignition kind of figured out strategically. Late game, the holes that exist amongst the player pool, and I don't want to bring better grinders over, into this spot site. But I'm sure one of the reasons you like ignition, Steve, is because maybe you've seen me Twitch and you've seen that these guys are not fighting back like they're supposed to.
They're not as good as the average ignition player. I don't believe is as good as the average ACR player, and that's just pretty much it. They just seem more passive, and maybe it's because you see the names and the pros, and when you sit down at the table, you're like, yeah, fuck, there's me and like 3 other good players here, and 3 unknowns and 1 reg that's kind of tight. It's like, whereas in ignition you have no idea, so you just don't know. But yeah, I just like ignition better. I feel like you can kind of take like a blanket approach to everyone until you get 40 or 50 hands on a guy, and then you can kind of play specifically towards them. Does that make sense? Maybe it's just easier to play on there. I don't know. As far as
you definitely, if you're multi-tabling, first of all, you get deeper. It's more shallow. Probably, for a lot of reasons. Your hourly is probably better there just for that, because the ACR tournaments run so deep.
Yeah.
And I can 10 or 12 table because I'm kind of in.
You're an autopilot for the first 70% of the tournament. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's quantifiable. I can look through my database and see that I win, 9 big blinds per 100 on Bovada and 2 big blinds per 100 on ACR. So you don't have to get too analytical over it. One site you're taking people's chips, and the other you're not.
Yeah. I had a random scene I fired. This we're chasing a squirrel right now. I had a situation at work yesterday that was kind of different. This has nothing to do with poker.
Right. First of all, Steve, I believe in these trans bathrooms. So whatever happened between you and your friend, I mean,
perfectly justifiable.
Yeah, I mean, if he grabbed you or touched you, I mean, it's, you know what I mean?
No. Don't touch me there. We're at work yesterday, and one of my guys had a doctor's appointment. And so we've got 2 rigs at our station. We have a truck and an engine. And so there's 4 guys on one unit, and then on my rig, we've got 3 guys, including me. And so one of my guys had a doctor's appointment, and it's up on the north end of town. He injured his foot at work, and so, we had to run him up to the podiatrist to get him looked at. And so but we can't leave the station unstaffed. Like, 1 unit has to be there so that if there's a call in the area, they can, someone's going to respond within a few minutes and get there, And so I was talking to the other captain on the truck, and I said, we got this doctor's appointment at 5:15, and he had a training session that he had to get his crew to from 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock. And he said, you know what, that's no big deal. He said, what I'll do is I'll wrap it up a little bit early, and we'll be heading back at 5 o'clock. It'll only take you about 10 minutes to get there. So we'll be on our way back from training and back in our area, shortly after 5 o'clock. And then you guys can head up north and get Paul to his doctor's appointment. I'm like, okay, cool. And so 4:50 comes around and 5 o'clock rolls around and 5:05 rolls around. And I'm looking, we have like a digital screen in the rigs where you can see where every unit in the city is, where every fire engine is, And
Right.
he's still like, it hasn't moved, and I'm like, huh. And then one of the other captains at the other station, he swang by our area because he was going to train with his rookie. And I told him, I said, hey, I got to get my guy to a doctor's appointment. We're already going to be late and the office closes at 5:30. Do you mind covering the station here for a little bit until we get back? I was like, John was supposed to be back here, 5 minutes ago and he hasn't even left. He's all, just leave. I got it. I was like, okay, cool. So we jump in the engine. We get up there. We just make the doctor's appointment. We're the last ones. And they were like literally closing the door as we were walking out. And I was like, the guy on the other engine, on the other truck, one of the things I really like about him is that he's very, very technically competent. And I would put him probably up against just about any other fireman in Southern California as far as strategy and tactics. And, he's the guy you want having your back on a fire because you're safe. But when it comes to like personnel stuff like this, like he came back and he didn't even say anything. He didn't like apologize or say that anything, it was so weird. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like what kind of programming is that? Like what, do you have any insight?
I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this. You were talking about the captain that covered for you? No, we're talking about the guy that went to the doctor's office.
Oh, no. My guy went to the doctor's office, and I needed the other captain to cover the station. And he
just took off and then came back after it, so it was uncovered?
Yeah, he just never came back when he said he was going to cover the station, even though we talked and he said that he would. He basically said, yeah, I've got your back, I'll cover you. And then he never did, and he never even apologized or even addressed it.
I mean, is there a possibility there was some sort of communication? There was non-clarity with there. Like when you say cover it, I don't know. It seems pretty straightforward.
I was asking my crew that. I'm like, am I missing something? Like, how is this not clear? Because they were sitting there and they're all, no, he said he would be leaving at 5 o'clock and then we'd be able to leave and we could I don't know how you F that up.
In a lot of workplaces, there could be a small trivial thing over like politics, over arguments over who likes Hillary, who likes Trump. I wonder, has there ever been a real bitter, intense argument at the fire station over who exactly is the laziest and most useless of us all? People are like, no, come on, man, I haven't done goddamn one thing in 20 years. And, it escalates. You gotta break them up. Guys, listen. all of you are about as dumb as it gets.
No. You're a piece of work. No. You're a piece of work.
I'm just curious here, yeah. Yeah, Steve, I don't know. That's strange. You got to look at the guy differently, a little bit after that, right? So I don't know.
Do, yeah. I was talking with my wife about this, and she's like, well, you know what? The part that matters is that you guys are safe when you go on fires. And she's like, this other personnel shit, now you know where you stand with them. Like, you can't count on them. I'm like, right. I guess you're right, yeah. And, there was one other time, this was about a month ago, it's like, we're going out for lunch, we'll be back about noon. You want us to get you guys some burritos or something? We're like, oh yeah, I don't have any food. I'll take a burrito. And then my engineer, he'll have a, torta or whatever. And 12 o'clock rolls around, 12:30, 12:40. We're like, where the fuck are those guys? We haven't heard any calls go out. So we give them a call. Oh, we're eating at the restaurant. What the hell? You said you were going to come back.
What the hell, yeah.
I'm like, hey, so I don't understand that programming, that wiring, what? I just don't get it.
It's funny now that I'm thinking, I know that's somewhat analogous. When I was first working at the post office, you start off as a substitute. You don't have your own route. You're coming in and just covering. There was one route that was down for a while, so there was different subs. We would have it on different days. And there was this one guy who, we were kind of friendly, but if I ever covered, he'd always make sure he left like 10 or 15 minutes of work behind for the next guy. Because a lot of times
just to keep you busy, right?
Well, not even, but he would just like come up with BS reasons. Like what can slow you down out there is that was kind of, you'd get all your mail ready. At the end of the day, before you hit the street, they'd come over and give you your accountables, certified mail, registered mail. And that stuff is what kind of slows you down. If you got like 10 certified letters, you got to go to the door, get a signature, wait for someone. So you'd always come back and there'd be like, like there's a pile of trays and you lift one tray and there's like 4 certified letters there. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like mail would get stuck between one tray where he couldn't do it. And there was also like a little thing as you go out the door, there's like the hot mail, the mail that was, the mail that's coming out the last second, a bunch of letters that or whatever was pulled out. And it's probably, let's say 10 or 15 letters and you're supposed to quickly organize them by hand for the, when you hit the street and then, a few more letters you're supposed to deliver, basically. But they're a pain in the ass because you have them on the side, then all the other bundles, and you got to keep paying attention. Okay, this one's coming up.
It's not convenient that you can just drop it in the mailbox
he would like
everything else.
You'd come back in the afternoon and you'd notice, well, he's the only one who missed his hot mail, and it was like. So, and it was like, it's just, that stuff just wears on you. You know what I mean? Because, your next day after him he's always, he's doing the absolute minimum. And then sometimes it's minimum minus something else. And, like a nice guy, but this was the kind of office where, it all depends. There was probably some supervisors there who at some point just wouldn't put up with the shit and would, write them up for this. But, there's one of those things where you kind of can do with what you want to do and someone else is going to pick up the extra load. All the mail is going to get delivered.
Yeah.
And if you just arbitrarily decide I'm going to deliver 5% less, like I got all these different tricks on how to, I couldn't get the magazines up in time because so-and-so didn't,
Yeah. I definitely, I think you're right. I definitely got to look at them a little bit different. And I guess for the everyday, like little doing your favors thing, like, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. I guess that I just can't depend on them for that stuff, So, but as far as like on fires and working incidents, like the guy's a nail, he's solid.
Right.
That's really where it counts, I guess. These little favors and shit I can do without, but
right.
It was just so weird, like he finally got back to the station at like, almost 6 o'clock. So it's like, like an hour after he said, I was like, so weird,
Was he averting your eyes? Was he at least a little uncomfortable? No, it's just nothing happened. Yeah.
Not really. I mean, he's not really that much of a talkative guy to begin with, but maybe a little bit. He might have been a little bit more standoffish than he usually is. But, if he's normally 90% standoffish, now he was, 93. Wasn't a whole lot. But, yeah, you know what? Now that you mentioned, there was a perceptible difference, It just, I don't understand that programming. I don't get it. My focus when I go to work is number one, just like him, be safe. Everyone goes home. There's no reason to get hit by a car. There's no reason to fall through a roof. Just keep your eyes peeled. Everyone be safe. But number two is have fun. If you're going to work and you're miserable, then you need to change something. And that his number two priority is definitely not that. It's not to have fun.
Right, I gotcha.
Whatever.
Speaking of having fun, poker's been fun for a few days here anyways.
It's a lot more fun when you're winning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's helped me. And I got so much other BS to deal with in personal life here, Steve. We were kind of talking about some of the. I have my. Of course, you're money obsessed, so this would drive you nuts. My car insurance just doubled.
Wow!
It went from $1,800 a year to $3,300 a year.
What the?
And I went through a stoplight. I had a ticket like 6 months ago.
I have so many questions right now, but I'm going to try to listen and then I'll ask. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know. Like, it's like, I've got to fight back. I don't know the deal here, but it's so like there's a massive increase in my basically Geico said, and then I had a fender bender like just under 3 years ago. So I lost my good driver's discount, and I thought it was a mistake. First of all, if anyone's in California, I don't know the rule. I mean, this was my first ticket in like over 10 years. So I got something in the mail where I could get the ticket off my record if I went to like good driving school.
Okay.
And the driving school cost just a little bit more than to pay the ticket. And, it was just stupid by me. I didn't do that. So that decision, God only knows how long it'll take to go down, to not take a Saturday afternoon to spend 6 hours going to like safety class.
Yeah, comedy safety school or something. Yeah,
it probably cost me about $4,000 or $5,000.
Huh.
Because that's how long it'll take to get my insurance. It'll go down a little bit every 6 months, probably for the next 3 years until it's back down to. So I mean, just think about that. $3,300 for me to pay car insurance is just fucking absurd.
That's pretty asinine, yeah.
And then, like I said, and I don't even know, if what the information is, because I went through Geico, and first thing I do is I call Progressive, and I'm assuming, I'm going to get a better deal, and they quote me even a little higher than Geico. And I'm like, what's going on here? They're like, well, we're just looking. All these companies, I don't know if I tweeted like online, it's like the Geico rep when I didn't like my rate increase says, well, you're welcome to go compare apples to apples if you like. Basically, it's all going to be the same price. And all these guys, because all I did is give my name, and they knew Progressive, like they didn't have to ask my VIN or any of this stuff. They had all that information. So all these companies have like a database and they share it. They're all kind of,
like real estate agents or something.
But then the Progressive's like, well, we see you've had an accident in the last year. I'm like, yeah, I had one where I was rear-ended at 40 miles per hour, but I was not at fault. And he's like, well, this is not what it shows here. So then I had to go back because they said, well, if Geico pays out, it doesn't really matter who's at fault. You've paid out. And
really?
Geico was like, no, this is not what your report says. You're not at fault for an accident. So somewhere there's like an actual information, thing that I've got to deal with out there. But it's just, I'm just stuff like this just drives me to the edge of,
Yeah. Okay. Now, Okay. Let's see. What do we pay? I think we pay like $560 every 6 months, and we have 3 vehicles.
Are you joking?
For 2 of us. No, that's real. And so when you said 1,800. I just about shit my pants. And then when you said it doubled, I was like, are you insuring a car on Mars? Like, what? I just don't understand this at all. So, Like,
what company do you use, first of all?
Mercury.
Okay, well, I need to get some.
I mean, here's what I would do if I were in your shoes, Mike, and you can take this or leave us or fucking throw it out with the garage. With the garbage. I would go online and I would just Google car insurance companies, and I would accept that I'm going to spend the next 3 hours calling 12 different companies, and I would just get 12 different quotes and just keep going down the line. Another thing, if you don't want to quite commit that amount of time to it, which I'm guessing you don't, is call up a car insurance agency, a rep, and they'll do that shit for you.
Yeah.
And now they're going to take a little bit of cut, but it'll save you the hassle of having to, go on all those. And you can call multiple different insurance agents and get multiple different quotes. Have each one of them give you 5 different quotes or whatever, and go from there. And not only that, but since they're in the game, they're going to be able to explain to you why in the fuck you have to pay so much for car insurance,
Well, I immediately changed. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that I have. I have like, there's probably a lot of unnecessary things I have in there.
You know what? I didn't even think of that. Yeah, what's your deductible?
I just dropped my coverage, so that saves me. That saved me. I did not have the minimum coverage for some reason. I didn't even realize that. So. But there's a couple of things. So now just changing the coverage dropped it from whatever it was, $3,300 a year to like $2,600 a year.
Okay, so do you only have liability? Is that what you've got?
No, I got
liability. Basically says if my car gets totaled, I'm just going to write it off. But as far as medical bills and stuff like that, I'm going to be taken care of after.
I'd have to.
$2,000.
There's a couple things. They make some of the stuff. They make it just sound like, well, do you want coverage for rental car? And I'm like, I don't really need. They're like, it's $4 a month. I'm like, okay,
That adds up.
yeah, it's $48 a year, and so I have like three
Yeah.
things like that. I have the glass protection. Like normally, if that's just not protected, because it's not a collision, someone smashes your glass.
Oh, no,
So
you don't need that. No. How often does somebody, in 47 years, how often has somebody broken your window?
twice.
Okay, well, there you go. It probably would have
I
been
was
cheaper
parked at
to
the
just.
post office, and woman who works there, and her brother has gone to prison for drugs and whatever. He came over and smashed my window in the parking lot so he could steal the. Well, he was trying to get my wallet, but he stole the what do you call it? The little GPS thing I had in there, the Garmin.
Oh.
So I probably could shave another $100 off that, but either way, it's like $500 for 3 cars. I don't know. I'll have to look
Well, it's
into
like
it.
560 or so. It's less than 600 for 6 months for 3 cars and 2 drivers.
And like I said, I've got a pretty good driver's history. And it's funny. The last time we were talking too about just me being a wimp and not sticking up for myself, and I might have already used this as an example, but yeah, I had like a little fender bender in a parking lot with at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And my Geico rep is like, "Are you sure you want to take responsibility?" The other guy was so outraged. It wasn't like he wasn't even like like I was intimidated or yelling at me. He's like, "Dude, I'm sorry. That was your fault. You pulled out." And then even the Geico rep is like, usually anything that involves in a parking lot, it's always no fault. Somebody's pulling out, somebody else is pulling out. You know what I mean? You have to, for the most part, if 2 people are pulling out at the same time and hit, you can't. No one's ever at fault, which is exactly what happened. We both pulled out and just smashed into each other. It's like, dude, I pulled out, but I stopped when I saw you coming, and you kept going.
Yeah.
And I had a couple kids with me at the time. I had Joan and his friend. I'm like, well, he's probably right. So it's just quotation marks. But again, this was the thousands of dollars decision I made there.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that's an accident on your record. You can have one every 3 years, but apparently, if you get one every 3 years plus a ticket, you are now considered a high risk, and your insurance just fucking goes through the fucking roof.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is an important lesson. Whenever you get a ticket, go to traffic school. It sucks.
School and just don't take responsibility for I mean, I hate to tell people to lie or whatever. I don't even know if it was lying. I still don't even know, but it's like, it was easy to just get away from not taking responsibility for hitting the guy in the parking lot because he was pulling out too.
Yeah.
So this is yeah, so yeah, it's absurd. Like I said, I've got to put some effort into that. And then
look at it this way, look at it like if I devote 4 hours to this, I could make $600. You know what I mean? That's like $150 an hour.
Just because I have the cash in my pocket is not a good.
$1 saved is exactly the same as $1 earned. It's lo mismo. It's exactly the same. So if you could make $150 an hour right here just by being on the phone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's other, and I got the stress of my taxes here this year, which is like that would be killing me right now too if it wasn't for that I'm looking forward to grinding today. Because it's just it's confusing and
you don't have a tax guy?
I'm sorry.
I was going to say you don't have a tax guy, or
I do, but well, first of all, he hasn't responded, and they sent me this big package of all this. Yeah, I don't. It'll be fine here. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just like last year, I wasn't happy that I couldn't take cash game losses. Well, that wasn't factored into my taxes, and I ended up paying a bunch of taxes.
Well, you get taxed on your winnings, but you can't take your losses.
Well, I wasn't a professional gambler last year.
Okay.
15. So that's why. And even like the tournament stuff, like I could show that overall, yeah, I got a couple of scores in tournaments, but I only profited, let's say, $25K.
Yeah.
And but even some of those, like in California, it doesn't matter. They don't factor that in. You just pay on the Basically, yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal. I've kept good records. I've got everything, and the taxes are what they're going to be. But it's just the unknowingness of it. Like my taxes could be anywhere between like $2,000 and $14,000. Like that, I feel like like I could. There's just some horrible bit of news that's going to be coming, where it's although I did pay some of my I did already send Uncle Sam $3,600 this year. So. paid him $900 every 3 months because I knew I'd be probably going as a professional gambler this year.
Yeah. Right on. You keep all your tournament entry tickets, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't even really. It's not like they go through them, but just in case. I mean,
but if you get audited, you want to have. There is some good news though. I heard that.
I have an Excel spreadsheet which keeps all that information pretty good. But
perfect. Yeah. I heard that the IRS is experiencing some budget cuts, so they're going from they normally audit something like 3% of tax returns, and now it's down to less than 1%. So that's good.
Right.
Having a business throws up a red flag. I'm sure being a professional gambler does too, but they're just totally understaffed. So that's good news for the working man.
People who want to stick a cock up the Uncle Sam's ass. Sure.
Hey, I'm just looking to pay as few taxes as possible because no matter how much you pay, it's never enough. They'll spend it on something and then they'll spend more and throw it on a credit card. So
right, you're right about that.
Yeah. But you can check out free training videos at headsuppoker.poker and even more free training videos at tournamentpokeredge.com. HUP month, HUP quarter, and HUP year. Bookmark us on Amazon. Follow me on Twitter at HUP Podcast. Follow Mike at Mike Snyderman. Watch him play live at twitch.tv/rampagepoker. Thank you for tuning in. And here is your weekly motivational speech.
As we begin to think about goals and dreams, given my circumstances, born in an abandoned building on a floor, being adopted, being labeled educable mentally retarded, failing twice in school, no college training, never worked for a major corporation, to believe that I had something of value. Have you ever thought about something you wanted to do and you talk yourself out of it? It's very important to realize that I found that most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss. Most people fail in life because they did just like I did for so many years. They aimed too low and hit. They didn't believe in themselves. So I want you right now to revisit and look at your goals and dreams, and let's raise the bar. And I want you to say with me, it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. I can do this. I can make this happen. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, I'm going to make it. It's possible. Yes, your dream is possible. Say that to yourself every day. Feed your mind with words that you write and words that you hear and words that you speak to yourself. Feed your faith and your doubts will starve to death. Say to yourself, it's possible. It's possible.